You two are a hot mess. I don't like it when any of you, none of us at Ramsey like it, when you take our good common sense advice that is meant for you to prosper in your family and you weaponize it to use it on your family.
This is more about the breach of the plan and trust between the two of them. They needed to have a conversation rather than her just making a unilateral decision about that.
She's 9 days before delivering a baby, and she has other child working 2 jobs and stuff, and she's like, you know what, screw him, I'm just gonna buy the car I want and make myself happy right this minute.
You do not buy a car without your spouse knowing, especially y'all are going out together, and then that is a massive breach of trust.
A little groundwork. I'm an over-the-road truck driver. I'm out 5 days at a time, and I have rotating weekends. My wife works full-time. I would say 2 full-time jobs. She also takes care of our kid.
What do we anticipate the problem of this might be?
That he's never home.
Maybe.
And she's doing all the work.
You think she's cheating on him?
Oh, or he's cheating on her.
Well, let's see what happens.
So we have a 20-month-old, and we have a second baby boy coming in 9 days.
Wow.
Are you sure it's yours?
So, yeah, Mama's got her hands full.
By the way, I wouldn't say that on a client consult. I'd be nice and quiet. This is just us thinking and listening to this. We are much more respectful when we're on an actual client call.
Right.
But the podcast, we're trying to entertain you, too.
I try to help while I'm there, and this job does have predictable schedules, which really helped a lot. But here's what happened. A lot of relational stuff and a little financial thing, but I do wonder your thoughts on the financial thing. So when we put the second car seat in the she had a small SUV.
I have a feeling that it's more relational than financial, but we'll see. And are we really getting into the problem caused by the car seat? If you got a problem caused by a car seat, you have a problem in your marriage, not about the car seat.
Yeah.
I was the one who said, this thing's a little tighter than it needs to be in here. For you having to pack them out in and out all day by yourself, we might look at some other options. So we talked about it, could not agree on makes, models, anything. I'm looking at minivans. She's looking at SUVs. We actually went and physically looked at some cars just to get some ideas, try to compromise on things. And there was a little compromise on cars, different makes and models. And then we were trying to figure out what would be realistic in our range with the trade and all that.
What do you think? They spend too much on this car?
Well, this is what I think. She doesn't want to be a minivan mom, so she wants the SUV. Hey, I can relate.
Almost everybody is at that point.
I didn't want a minivan either. Daniel was trying to, at one point, talk me into getting a minivan. I was like, no, I'm not a minivan person. I want an SUV. So I can relate to that.
We had a minivan when I was growing up, and it was actually a stick shift minivan, and I learned and drove that stick shift minivan quite a bit.
And there were several talks about, we're not going to finance anything different than where we are now to get into the vehicle we need to be. Next thing I know, Saturday, she sends me pictures of this van that she just went and picked up.
You do not buy a car without your spouse knowing, especially y'all are going out together, and then that is a massive breach of trust. And I bet you 50 cents she spent too much.
And
got a high interest rate.
$10,000. We owed $5,000 as it was on a car, and we had the money to pay it off. We were doing the stork mode thing, and I don't know if she just had a change of heart. We had a commitment conversation last night, and we agreed there's a lot of individual and relational counseling needed to figure out how we even got to where we thought this was a good idea. My thought on the financial side is we turn right back around and sell that van, and whatever the gap money is between the sale and paying off the loan, that's what we go buy.
No, I don't agree with that. It's only $10,000. I don't know what they make, but $10,000, not totally unreasonable.
It concerns me. He's a truck driver, and he states she has 2 jobs, and she's taking care of the kids.
Yeah. So if he's a truck driver and he's
making
going out there,
probably about $100,000.
Yeah, he's making at least 50.
I mean, they make pretty good money.
He may be making more than 100, and then she's got these other jobs. They can afford this, and they can do that.
So
it's not $10,000. This is more about the breach of the plan and trust between the two of them. They needed to have a conversation rather than her just making a unilateral decision about that. This is about the marriage relationship, not about the car. And why you shouldn't go sell that car taking a $5,000 loss. You're going to have the same $10,000 problem either way.
Right.
She seems to still think, I don't know at what level, that this was a good idea and that we should keep it. that it's just $5,000 further backwards, and that we can pay it off if we buckle down. So I'm curious what your thought is there.
I think her friend influenced her.
You think?
She has a friend. She's talking to her friend. Her friend's like, "Oh, just go buy the car."
Yeah, and that's
What's
one of the
he going
problems.
to do?
You really have to be careful exactly who you listen to, who you talk to, who your friends are, because your friends are going to influence your life.
Right.
And
sometimes they influence your life because they're jealous.
oh yeah,
And they don't like that you get more than them or whatever,
Yeah.
and they want to cause a wedge.
yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot of different
Yeah.
issues and problems. And there are times if you, at the moment where you realize that about a friend,
You need to cut ties.
I would cut ties. I wouldn't even tell them about it.
Yeah.
And just move on.
Move forward.
Wow. Well, I'm vacillating between this lady's completely overwhelmed with 2 little babies. She's pregnant.
Yep.
And the fact that she completely lost her dadgum mind. And
That's
went
kinda where I'm at.
and went against everything in the relationship,
Yep.
lied to her husband,
Yep.
and acted like she wasn't even married.
Yep.
And so, I mean, part of me is sympathetic to where she is and how overwhelmed she is, and I get all of that.
As
But
a-
part of me is really ticked at her right now. And I
that's
suppose
kinda where
you're
I am.
probably 10x of both of those.
Exactly. And I
Pause
do
that
understand.
for a second.
Yeah.
She went in a dealership and pretended like she's not married
No.
because I heard him say,
What Dave is saying is she acted like
"Oh,
she made a
acted like
decision as if she wasn't married.
Okay.
on a decision like that, you have to remember that
Yeah.
you're married and talk to your spouse. You
That's
don't
a big
just go do
financial
that.
decision.
Especially when y'all are going through so much pain and strife and struggle, and you're working so hard, they're working so hard, and you make a decision to run backwards on the racetrack for a while.
Right.
And basically, all of a sudden, he's running his heart out on that racetrack, and you've given him a penalty of several laps back without even talking to him
She's
about it.
giving herself a penalty. If
Both
she's
of 'em.
working
Yeah.
2 jobs and's got little bitty kids,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work for one person.
Yeah.
So,
Stand on the one hand, not necessarily a bigger vehicle is the right choice of vehicle. The loan is completely separate from that.
Well, and
We
but
put
this
up on a car.
decision-making process that is completely out of
Exactly,
control.
that's a bigger-
Exactly. It's the decision-making process, not even the magnitude necessarily of the problem. She's right, $5,000 back, and he maybe could have and should have been a little bit more flexible about that. I get it. But for her to make that unilateral decision, especially after they're working together, it's like stabbing him in the back.
right.
It has nothing to do with the magnitude or the amount or any of that stuff.
Right.
It's the trust issue and the marital issue is what
Right.
the problem is.
Yeah.
You're not going to ever have anything financially until we solve whatever is broken there in her mind on how relationships work.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We've seen it hundreds of times.
Mm-hmm.
So financially, what you need to do is sell the car, and you need to get a car that you can afford.
I mean,
What did he say?
he said financially you need to sell the car and get the car that you can afford. Sometimes I disagree with him on this stuff, and I
Yeah.
think I do, because at that level, if they already had $5,000 of debt, now they have 10, and they're making $150,000 a year, I would just get Gazelle Intense and pay off the $10,000
Yeah.
within the next 2 or 3 months,
Right.
and just do that, and now we've got the car. But it's more about the relationship issue, because
Right.
I don't think that that's a major financial issue at what they're probably making. I think that you can just fight through that, but don't do any more setbacks.
Right, because you could sell
And I'd be
that car and lose money.
Yeah, that's the problem that I think you would have.
Because the cars, as soon as they
'Cause-
walk off the lot,
Yeah,
they
and now you're going to have
lose money.
the other instance, an emotional problem with her, and her emotions are not going to be able to deal with it, and she's going to blame him.
Well,
It's going
you're
to lead to a
dealing
whole
with
bunch of other
pregnant
problems.
woman too.
Oh yeah,
Hormones are a whole other level when
I'm
you're
glad you said that.
pregnant.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So now she's going to be super upset.
Yeah. And they're about to have a baby, and there's all kinds of complications, things like that. I mean, I can see why he doesn't want to do it, but I think I would let myself be stuck with that problem and just work my way out of that problem,
Right.
and get it paid off. But I would
Yeah.
also limit some other stuff, and I'd be looking for a whole lot of other things to sell and get that debt done and paid off.
Right.
And also, that would probably be a good idea for her to recommit to your marriage,
Exactly. Absolutely. That's the number one. In a marriage, you need to be all in at all times, 100.00%.
Right.
Both of you. Yep.
You guys may decide together that you want to go deeply in debt. If you want to do that, that's fine. But whatever, the first thing that has to happen is you all have to get on the same page and agree to keep your word to each other.
Yep.
You just can't have a relationship where you just don't keep your word to each other, or where you act independently, unilaterally of each other.
Right.
Exactly.
There's just no data that says that creates a quality relationship.
We deal with it all day, every day, over and over and over again. We're divorce lawyers. We see it.
Yeah, the financial piece can be undone today, but the relational piece, the trust, that's going to take a while to build back up.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think you're right that
And
counseling is
that's the real issue.
in order. And on the financial side, do you guys still have other types of debt outside of this car loan?
Yeah.
How much? How much?
A
of
little
that?
bit.
Yeah, they're working baby step two.
We're close. We had $5,000 left on the cars. This current car is now 10, so an additional 5 or 6.
Yeah.
She has a $17,000 student loan, which would have been the next thing we tackled, and then some petty collections that she has from old credit cards.
Yeah. My guess is your wife feels like that she's been running her life by herself already for a long time because you're just never there.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yep. And if he's 5 days out, is he 5 days there? And what kind of attention and quality is he putting in on those 5 days?
I mean, he might only be there on the weekends or,
And
2 days a week.
she feels abandoned, and she just had to do what she had to do as an abandoned single mom. I'm thinking that's where she is emotionally.
I guarantee you that's where she is emotionally.
She's probably making so many decisions on her own.
Yep. That she's not used to him even.
She's not used to confiding in him.
Yep.
Because he's not there.
Yep.
You can't really blame her.
I don't.
You know?
Yeah. So we really boiled it down. It's a marital problem. It's
right.
both. It's on both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, he can't sit there and just blame her for this situation.
Correct.
He has to look at his responsibility in this. If he's not around, he's constantly off. And again, I think as a couple, when someone takes a job, it just depends on how this went down.
Mm-hmm.
He had this job opportunity. He took it. They were in agreement that he was going to take this job. Then as the spouse, the wife, she has to support him in that job. If he took the job without communicating with her and was like, I'm taking this job, and she didn't really have a choice and she didn't have a voice in the matter, then that's a whole nother ball game. And that's why I can see her being the way she's being.
Oh, we had one exactly that way recently. And the spouse that got the better job was doing it out of an act of service. It was more than twice the amount of money and a dream job, but didn't mention it to the spouse. And the spouse felt completely betrayed, even though it was 2.5 times more money, better hours, better time. It really was the solution that the other spouse was asking them for. But when it came up, it required a move.
Right.
And so you've got to get everybody's consent. You can't just make a unilateral decision, even if it's what they've asked you to do, and you've got the solution. You don't just make the decision and do it without discussing it. Communication is absolutely the key.
It's the key.
Relationally and financially, we agreed to be on the same page, and then you went and did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm livid of her breaking her word and just doing this, but I'm trying to figure out what level of distress she must have been in to do that, because it sounds like you all had very clear conversations, and then she just. Yeah,
but it's probably very clear conversations about that. But she is, as you said, she's making all these other decisions. To her, she might have even been so busy she just lost track and didn't even think about it and didn't even realize.
Well, she could have been like, we've been talking about this. We've been having conversations. He's gone. We got to make a decision. I'm going to go ahead and make this decision and get this taken care of because I can't keep waiting on him. We got a baby coming. Heck, the baby might be coming in the next couple of weeks. So in her mind, she's got to hop on it, get it done.
And I found something. Here we go.
Yeah.
And maybe she's been making all the financial decisions and doing a lot of this stuff anyway. I think there's more to the story.
She's probably paying all the bills and everything else, and she's the sole person.
Yeah, could be. Let's see if we find out more.
Just went and did whatever the flip she wanted to do anyway. So which just tells me she's just in freak out mode.
Yep.
I guess. I mean, because I don't. This lady does not sound like someone who is obstinate, arrogant. She doesn't sound like that person to me.
No.
She sounds more like somebody who feels. I think she's a cornered animal and she bit you. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if I would say that.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. So you got to get to the bottom of that before you can fix this van thing. The van problem is the symptom.
Yeah,
It's not the thing.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
it may be, dude, you're coming off the road, and you got little babies.
Yeah.
And she's overwhelmed.
Yep.
And you may be coming off the road.
Yep.
And doing something
Oh,
else.
if
so
I
that you
was
can be there for
speaking to
your family
him,
for a
I'd be
season.
like, you need to
I don't
find
know.
a job.
But
Yep.
I do
You
know
need to
you
be
need
there
to sit down
for
with
your
marriage counselor
family.
for sure.
Yep.
I'm not qualified to unravel all this. I can
Or down the
kind of
road,
get on
you
her
won't
side
have
for a
a
minute,
family.
but there's no way to
You're gonna have a
justify what she
divorce.
did on the other hand. So I can get on your side and be pissed about it too. I get it. I understand where your head is, but I'm trying to figure out what caused this so it doesn't happen again.
Yep.
That's the thing. Because if you don't break this, you're gonna be broke your whole life.
Yep.
So,
I would ask a
Yep.
lot more questions.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
That's just a bit, though. They
Yeah.
just-
So that, I mean, that was only a few minute segment.
But I would like to know, like,
Well, that's the type of in-depth.
who pays all your bills?
Yeah.
Who's taking care of, you
Yep.
know, the finances?
Those are the type of questions that I get to ask in an hour-long consultation that I
Mhm.
have with our clients, if necessary. I mean, that
Right.
was what, 10 minutes, maybe 5.
No, I
7?
listened to your consultation. You probably spend about 15 to 20 minutes discussing finances with them,
Yeah. Yeah. And I get
asking all the right questions and finding out where they're at.
because we need to take them from where they are now to where it is that they want to be.
Right.
And
And
well,
how
you
are
listen
they?
to a lot of my consults.
Uh-huh.
We should track the percentage of times that went during a consult that I recommend Financial Peace University, and we should
The
track
consult
that.
I listened to yesterday, you recommended it, and the person had already done it.
Yep,
You're about to recommend it, and she told you she's done it.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
How many times do I? I'd also like to know my statistics of how many times I am trying to save their marriage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I consider it and look at it on
well,
every
you take
call.
them through the marriage viability test.
Yep.
So you determine whether or not
Yep.
the marriage is savable.
Yep.
And if it is, I've heard you tell them, you know, you need counseling, you need to work on your marriage, you don't need a divorce.
Yep.
And here's the thing, we have clients that really respect that, our potential clients, that down the road, if it doesn't work out, they call us back.
Yeah, I have nothing to worry about with
No,
that. And
no.
when I do send them away, it's virtually assured that if it goes down, we're going to do their work
It's
for them.
just like the client today. We had a client that hired us, paid his retainer. We hadn't heard from him. He kind of ghosted us for a bit. I finally got a hold of him today, and he was like, I'm sorry, you know, we've been going to counseling trying to work on our marriage. And my words were, I'm glad you're okay, because I was very concerned. We haven't been able to touch base with you. We're also extremely happy that y'all are trying to do counseling and make your marriage work.
Absolutely.
Our ultimate goal is for you and your family to be together and for it to stay together.
Absolutely.
And he thanked me.
You want to have a healthy marriage.
Yeah, he thanks me for
I know
for
plenty of
that.
law firms that would have lit him up and scared the heck out of him.
Yeah.
And all kinds of things. Now, there
And it
there
depends
is-
on the situation too.
Yes.
There's some people that are playing the other party,
Right.
as you heard earlier.
Yes,
from
and
the one.
and in those there
And
are
we
things
usually
that we
know.
do to advise and counsel them about what to do to make sure that it's going to be a legitimate thing, how to have self-esteem to where you're not
and be
just getting
cautious.
played.
See the red flags.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see the flags. They're going
And
to
those
show
are all
up.
things that we that we do for our clients.
Mm-hmm.
A couple days ago, George and I took a call from an over-the-road truck driver who's he had
the
been
follow-up.
talking with his wife about trading cars, and without talking to him, she went and traded cars and went further into debt. He was pretty irate about that because we're not in agreement about that, and she just went and did whatever she wanted to do. And we talked to him for a few minutes. The more we talked to him, the more, if you go back and listen to the call, the more we were questioning what's really going on.
Us too.
Yes.
Because she's like, he set her up, threw her under the bus pretty much, and then we're like, yeah, I think you're over the road. She's pregnant. She's got a baby due in 9 days, and
9 days.
you probably there's something else going on here.
You read between the lines.
I actually said
Yeah.
you
She
may need
was
to come
due
off
in
the
9
road. Take
days.
I don't know, but he said 9 days, maybe
care of your family, and you guys need to get in marriage counseling. So she apparently was listening, or went back and listened to the call, and
We
disagreed
picked
with
the
a whole
right
bunch of
video,
her,
didn't
Yes.
the things her husband said about her, and the conclusions we came to about her as a result, and so forth. So sent us a long email.
This is where
Now
it gets fun.
juicy.
And so we thought it'd be fun to kind of go back through that because
I think it's going to be fun too, Dave.
it's really interesting. So here's the deal. Well, let's just say, okay, I listened yesterday, got to hear the call you took from my husband regarding the purchase of a van, resulted of financing $10K.
Who I wonder which attorneys that they called after this. Let's see.
I know responding probably won't get airtime to resolve the plethora of issues you two seem to pick up on, but I felt at least I could provide some context for my actions that would hopefully lead to a rebranding of my sanity, because I said she may have lost her dadgum mind, and accountability for the situation. The truth is, partially, as you put it, I was backed into a corner and I bit back. So it sounded like they couldn't come into agreement, and he's on the road, left her, stranded with a bunch of kids, and she just did whatever she wanted to do, kind of thing. That was my point. And so then she goes on for about a page and a half explaining why it's okay to borrow money to buy a van and all this stuff, which of course is not true.
That's what I was thinking. Of course, she's one of those that justifies that. If you're doing that, don't do it. Follow this baby steps. They just work. I have a little bit of criticism because I think you should be well financially secure before you ever pay for college for your kids, because I think college is now a ripoff unless you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a scientist, or something that absolutely requires it. But I think most of college is a ripoff, and I think if you're going to go, you should cash flow it, and the kids should cash flow it themselves on their own, because they need to learn how to manipulate the world to deliver them what they want instead of manipulate the parents to deliver them what they want. So I think that's baby step number 6. Maybe it's number 5, but I think it's number 6. So that should come after you're well financially stable, because you know what your kids really want? Not to have to support you later in life because you spent too much money on them, or whatever reason. They need you to be financially secure. So I think you should be well financially secure before you gift anybody, including your own kids, especially for college. Otherwise, I completely agree with this program.
My husband didn't mention that he's packed all of his things and moved out. That's true. He did not mention that. And it's taken
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes, he did not. Okay, so he's trying to justify his need to be right. So he finds and nitpicks one thing about her.
Didn't I say I thought he was cheating? You thought it was the wife. I thought it was the husband.
Well, I thought it could have been either one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's packed his stuff and moved out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who does he have in the back
Need to
of
be
that
right.
truck with him?
What's that? Yeah.
Who does he have in the back of the truck with him, traveling along those days?
Need to be right, need to be special, need to be appreciated, all those things. He's trying to justify all of that and finding a reason to poke at her and that, this is her fault. I think it's the marriage's fault and the communication fault. I told you the whole financial thing was just a symptom.
Of our emergency fund with him about 9 days before I deliver our second child.
It was 9 days. Okay.
Holy crud.
9 days before.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Really, that's just nice. No, he didn't mention that because I probably would have ripped him a new one for doing that.
Good for you, Dave.
Ramsey.
Like, if you're going to leave, you don't leave 9 days before baby comes, dude.
No.
This didn't just suddenly happen. So,
plus, she could just be losing her mind hormonally, and you got to learn how to deal with stuff.
Right.
Come on, give me a break. And she may be postpartum right afterwards. You need to.
Exactly.
Let's be a little bit self-aware, bro.
Yeah, we would have. George and I would have teed off on him on that. Me more than George, because George is generally nicer.
Nice.
She closes with, "I'm not stupid, I've not lost my mind, but backed into a corner with no other resources or choices. I think I can own this one." And that's after rationalizing again for 5 paragraphs that buying the van was a good idea. So let's go back and regroup on this whole thing for a little bit.
So, still not a good financial decision.
No.
Still a marital problem was
Right.
what led to it. The financial thing is just a symptom. I think, have we said, maybe we...
You know what
Number
I
one.
think?
What do you think?
I think this is what happened. He left her. She's 9 days before delivering a baby, and she has this other child working 2 jobs and stuff, and she's like, you know what? Screw him. I'm just going to buy the car I want and make myself happy right this minute, because right now I am depressed. I'm about to have a baby, and I'm raising these kids by myself, and now he decided to just take off.
And he's moved out, yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, what business of it is his anyway?
Right.
If he's moved out.
Because she's thinking...
Especially if he would have moved out. Did he move out? I guess the call was yesterday. The email came in immediately.
He moved out
She heard
prior.
it on the live show. So he must have moved out before any of this.
Yes.
Okay.
What a jerk.
And this is also another reason why I like to talk to people for an hour, because I really like to get to the bottom and find out all these other things, because those are the type of questions that Lawyer Dana asks.
I don't like it when any of you, none of us at Ramsey like it, when you take our good common sense advice that is meant for you to prosper in your family and you weaponize it to use it on your family.
Yep.
Exactly. That is exactly the wrong thing to do. Don't ever do that.
And that's what he was trying to do.
Exactly. He was trying to justify his need to be right and using it as a weapon.
And
showing
justify
why she's
the
wrong.
fact that he did what he did.
Exactly.
Or weaponize it to use it on your spouse. There's a thing in here where she says, he refused any car I looked at because and he said, Dave always says, if the answer is no, we don't do anything.
Yeah, so his answer is
You know
going
why
to be
he
no,
did
so
that?
there's
Is because he had motives.
Yeah.
He was leaving.
Yeah.
He had already made that up in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to have any other debt with her.
Yep. Yep.
And now she just threw a monkey wrench in his plan, because she bought a van with him and her.
Yeah. All this over $5,000.
Because he's trying to split things up.
Yeah.
If we can't come into agreement, the answer is no. Well, that's a general principle, yes. But what's going?
That's only if you're both all in.
Yeah, he
And
had one foot
if you
out.
have something that's legitimate, as opposed to his motivations were not.
What's going on here is you two are a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you. Jessica, you with your rationalization, which I completely understand how you get there in the middle of him being a control freak and you getting ready to have a baby, and I get all of that, but you rationalized your butt off, girl. I mean, it's ridiculous. And him with his lying to us and weaponizing advice that we give here and using it to verbally thrash his wife with.
Yep.
You guys desperately needed marriage counseling a long time ago.
You see how Dave is reacting here?
Yeah.
That's how a judge will react in court.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it's vitally important that you tell the truth to your lawyer.
Right.
Because if we go into court just saying his part of the side, because he hid all this other stuff from us, and then her side comes in and tells her side about this, the judge is going to get pissed at you both.
Exactly. But I think a judge would be more pissed at him versus her.
Probably.
And here's another thing. If your lawyer gives you advice, listen to the advice. Follow it.
Yeah.
And don't do crazy stuff without talking to your attorney.
Correct.
Believe me, when you do crazy stuff and then all of a sudden your attorney's prepping for a hearing and then they find out you did X, Y, and Z and they're like, what the hell? You just screwed up your case. Don't do that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
He calls on this radio show. And we certainly did not tell him to pack up his stuff and move out.
And it sounds like he did
And
that
if you go
before
back
he
and
ever
listen to the
called.
call, nowhere did we even intimate that he should do that. We did tell him, you guys need marriage counseling, and baby doll, you did need marriage counseling. You do need marriage counseling. You guys are a hot mess. You bow up and just go do whatever the crap you want to do and go deeply in debt and buy a van that you shouldn't have against his wishes, which indicates that you guys are not on the same page and have serious marriage problems. And he's being a twerp and a control freak and not coming up with some way to take care of his pregnant wife and kids and get her into a car that works.
Well, to that end,
Everybody wants what they want instead of serving each other in this marriage.
There's
Exactly.
a reason for this.
You serve each other in the marriage.
Yes, but there's a reason he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Because he was out first.
Yeah, and he's cheating. I
You
think
think
he's
so?
cheating.
Yeah, probably. Strong indication.
He's gone let's just say 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
She's at home.
I mean, I don't know.
She's pregnant.
Because I travel about a week out of the month, or I haven't in the past 5 months or so, but for 12 to 16
But you're
months
not
before
gone
that.
5 days a week, every single week.
Right.
And your wife's
no, I mean, I was
home
gone
with
for
little bitty
5
children.
to 7 days on average.
And let's
once
be
a
honest,
month.
she's pregnant. The
Well, yeah.
likelihood of her, wedding with him, is pretty low.
You think she's pregnant with somebody else's baby?
No, I think she's pregnant and she's not putting out. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see. Okay, a little slow on that one.
The likelihood she's
Yeah, so you think he's getting some on
Yes,
the
I think
side.
he's getting some on the side. He's not home.
Those truck
she's-
stop girls, huh?
Something's happening. Yeah.
She says, to quote him, I don't care if it has a welded 5-gallon bucket for the front seat. You'll drive what I pick or I won't agree to it. Because Dave says if you can't agree, you go with who says no. So
See,
I buy it. That's insane.
that has never
That's a
come
weapon.
out of here. I mean, we don't. That's just completely weaponizing the advice here. So
Do not
yeah, Jessica,
weaponize
you
the
have a
advice.
mess. Your husband is a mess. You're in a mess.
The key
Yes.
to this whole thing is serve your spouse and be all in.
Right.
And that will lead you to a healthy marriage.
Yes.
This is the Lawyer Dana Show.